Hello guys, welcome back to another live session of Carnivore Team GB with myself, Jonathan, Ben Hunt and the lovely Phil Escott. We're joined today with these two fine, lovely gentlemen from the Big Fat Challenge. Just so everyone knows, please leave a queue before the questions so we can spot them easily in the chat. Unfortunately, we'll not be joined with Lee today. Probably not be joined with Richard either. Stephen may not be in later. I'm not sure at this point. Anyway, today we're going to be focusing on optimizing light exposure on the carnivore, so please ask any questions related to that. As per usual, we'll go around the panel, get each other's anecdote, each other's experience, maybe with clients, what we find most useful at this point in time to optimize light exposure. So your questions might include anything to do with photo biomodulation, red light therapy, panels, biohacks related to that. Anything like that, basically. So maybe even blue light therapy some people use as like an antimicrobial kind of addition to their biohacking protocol. We're just going to start with Phil today. Just because I'm aware Phil does do a lot of the blue blocking stuff and the red light therapy stuff. And of course, guys, it is 7 PM in the UK right now. That's why we're not currently wearing any blue blocking glasses, because it is still sunny as hell. And it'll probably be the light out until about 9 PM tonight, so that's why we're not wearing glasses as of right now. Phil, if you want to kick this off.
Yeah. Where shall I kick it off? We're going to
kick it off with give your anecdote. Go on. Towards like light exposure, what you found most useful at the moment.
Well, I think, back in the day when I first discovered all this, when I discovered sort of Jack Cruise's website back in, I don't know, probably about 2012, and just the experience one night of putting some blue blockers on and getting the first sleep that I'd had in 6 months, being in agony with psoriatic arthritis, and just wearing those blue blockers and having a cold bath and sort of sleeping 11 hours straight. And that woke me up to it, really, how important light was. But there's a lot more to it than that, really, just than putting blue blockers on in the evening. I mean, we have all kinds of receptors in our skin as well. And so, as I tell all the particularly women who've been on plant-based or regular diets for a long time and have got some thyroid issue, the blue blockers won't really help if they're sitting in front of a computer all day. So, that light can get through the skin. It can get into the thyroid as well. And, there's, I don't know, where do we want to go with this? Because there's so many avenues to take from this. Are we talking about just the evening stuff, or what you do in the day, or the sun and the importance of it? Where should we start?
Let me hit you with a question then, Phil.
Yeah.
Because I know that Uncle Jack, as we like to call him, as he likes to call himself, has got on your case, for want of a better phrase, a few times, saying that light is so much more important than diet. In your experience, what is the relative, how big of a piece of the pie is diet compared to light, compared to emotions and other things, but specifically like diet and light being two of the biggest for a regular person? And how important was light for somebody who was as sick as you were? Does that make sense? Two questions in one.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I think light trumps it all. I think Jack's right, but maybe not in the modern day in that way. I'll explain that the sun controls everything. The sun controls the seasons, the days, everything. It controls the food that we're given, because at different times of the year you get given different food. And as Jack says, that if the light that goes in your eyes doesn't match with the food that goes in your mouth, then mitochondrial chaos ensues. So we have all that crap available to us now. Now, in the old days, when we were in the wild, we didn't have any choice. We had certain foods that were available to us, and whether it was plants or animals, and it wasn't anywhere near as many plants as the vegans think. So just seasonal stuff, like you're always saying, just in the autumn, we'd have had some berries and some nuts or whatever. And that was fine, because the light controlled everything. But when somebody comes to me with sort of screaming rheumatoid arthritis or something, and changing your light bulbs to red ones is not going to do much. But going onto a high-fat carnivore diet is really going to help. But that doesn't mean to say it was particularly at the root of it, because, you know, our light is so messed up now, and the sort of distribution of food, completely species inappropriate food, is so widespread that we've destroyed our guts. So we've got to go at it from that level. So Jack always says to me, will you be a light guru and not a diet guru? And I say, well, Jack, I'm not really a guru of either, but every time I do a consult, I'll mention all the light stuff, because I think it's really important. And even if somebody's very sick and they go on carnivore, it's going to work better if they get all the light sorted, because they're going to be sleeping right. But to actually heal something immediately, no. Blue blockers are not going to do much, but it's all part of the same equation. Does that answer it?
I don't know. So somebody who's on a regular crappy diet, and their light is terrible, they what you're saying is they both matter. But in your experience, isn't diet, and specifically cutting out the seed oils and getting proper fats in and cutting down sugar and stuff like that, isn't that like the real broad strokes?
I think so.
Next.
Yeah, I know. I do think so. Sorry, Jack. I do think so, because that brings people back from the brink of horrendous illness. But we've got to realize that because our light's been messed up, and all our, you know, the environment we live in, our food production, you know, chickens being subjected to artificial light all the way around the clock, making them lay around the clock, you know, all of these things that have happened, there is always that light component. But when someone's that sick, it's like if somebody breaks their leg, you want to go to the hospital, right? You don't want to have a cup of herbal tea or something. It's not the main thing that you should get into if you're really that sick. But I do appreciate him, and I appreciate his science, even though I can only understand about 10% of it. But I think, you know, between us, we can get into exactly how you can get the light right to make that change to a carnivore diet even more effective, I'd say. Yeah.
So have you seen cases then, Phil, where diet hasn't quite got it, and then once somebody fixes the light, then suddenly they get the breakthrough?
Yes, definitely. Particularly in things like eczema and psoriasis, actually. There seems to be a big connection there. But that's also to do with getting out in the sun as well, not just getting rid of the crap light at night. But yeah, oh definitely. But it often comes down to the amount people are sleeping. If they're not sleeping right, it's not happening. Like, you know, a lady came to me a while ago, had been carnivore 5 years, and she said to me, look, I've suddenly put on a load of weight. And I don't know why, because I've been eating exactly the same way. And so I looked at sort of her history and what she'd been doing, and she was a masseuse, and she didn't want to be touching people who might be shedding something naughty from things that might have been, you know, put into some people recently. And so she went and became a trader, and she was sitting in front of the screen 24/7 pretty much. And I said, was that exactly when the weight came back on? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, there you go. That's the only change you've made. And so she's in front of artificial light that's wrecking the hormones and destroying her leptin sensitivity, insulin signaling, whatever it is. And things went wrong. And so when she stopped doing that, put Iris on the computer, got some blue blockers, wrapped her neck up and whatever, things got better, and the weight started coming off. So yeah, there you go.
Brilliant. Well, we're getting some questions coming in.
Jonathan and Stephen. Oh, Andrew's here. He says blind people have a significantly lower cancer incidence. Very, very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Just that point that Andrew made there. Jack Cruz said, if it's in a podcast somewhere, I couldn't pick out which one it was, but he said, yeah, if you're blind, you can still get all the sunlight you need, basically. As long as you've got irises, you have this part of your eye, you're pretty much fine. So that's an interesting point to be made there. Of course, they probably have to put more conscious effort to make sure they actually get sunlight. You know, like me, if I go outside, oh, it's sunny out, I'm going to go outside now and enjoy the sun. With them, it's like there's no natural inhibition to do it because they can't see. So it probably requires a bit more forethought than just walking around and go about your day without, seeking out additional light. Yeah, well, I'm actually interested to hear what Stephen's experience has been with any kind of light exposure stuff and anything he's learnt recently.
Yeah, well, I'm interested in the head because I did ear, nose and throat and all that because of my deafness, but also my honours degree was all to do with the eye and those sort of things. So for people that are thinking it's woo-woo, there is plenty of pharmacological support and studies for this. So in parts of Europe and Latin America, it's actually approved a treatment for macular degeneration is red light therapy. So it's known. It's known in that sphere. And way before we were talking about this, I don't mean tonight, I mean in general, dermatology uses red light to promote collagen formation, acne, regression, and promote hair growth and all that sort of thing. And athletes, these very expensive athletes, that are getting lots of pay. Most of those swear by it for recovery. And then you've got the actual practicalities of what happens with macular degeneration. We use that as an example, red light therapy. You can actually see images of, there's a thing called drusen, which is a protein that builds up, which is part of the reason why you get this macular degeneration. And you see an image and you see the red light therapy actually reducing it. So it's not woo-woo, really. And actually, it's more like common sense, because we're humans, we sleep at night and we hunt during the day. So light is really important. It gives us all our cues. So if we go to basics and realize that is a cue, I mean, if you saw a nocturnal animal out, in the daylight, you would think, oh, something's wrong. You'd immediately go, well, that's not right for that animal. We shouldn't be seeing bats walking around in the garden in the sunlight. That's not what we do. So once you get into the common sense of it, that we should be looking at light as the cues for when we sleep and when we eat and when we wake, then it makes total sense. And I think we all should also sort of differentiate between blue light that's non-native, as they call it, coming from your screens and coming from your phones is different to blue light. Phil said, go outside. Well, that's got some blue light in it, but that's the right level for that time of day. And also you've got all the other benefits, sort of every other light in the spectrum. So for me, I think mine is not as sort of precise as Phil, but when people are struggling to get optimal and they're, I'm not sleeping very well. I literally had this last week. I had a message from someone saying, for the first time in my life, I've slept 3 days or 3 nights in a row, because I've just done those things. I've just made it dark in the bedroom. I've got up in the morning light and I've got outside, and literally like 10 minutes. We're not talking you've got to go outside and stroll around forever. It's just getting outside in the morning, if you can, even if it's 5 minutes, just get out and see some morning sunlight. I'm not saying stare at the sun, So, and the other thing is, and this is my professional life. I've done the specialist practitioner side for obesity and diabetes for a long time. And obviously one of the things you get with diabetes is retinopathy, and red light therapy definitely proven to help that. It also reduces, sadly, diabetics get bleeding in the eye. We are going now into food a little bit, and they get swelling of the retinal tissue. And red light therapy is definitely helped that. So that's called diabetic macular edema, posh word of saying your eyes are swelling up because it's full of blood. And I think that's one of the things that, to answer Ben's question about food, I don't think there's a number one, number two sort of thing. They go hand in hand. I just think, to me, it's just common sense. Because you could be strict carnivore and thinking you're doing the right things, but if you're, the two occupations that are terrible when it comes to sort of percentages of illnesses are airline pilots and hostesses, or whatever they're called now, servers or whatever it is, because they're in different time zones. They're locked in cabinets for a long period of time. They're not seeing the sunlight. And it's also like night shift workers as well. So I think, you could be strict carnivore and you could be doing shift work and you would not be doing that great. I think you'd have to, mitigate the problems of being awake at night and sleeping during the day. So all these things are really handy, because if you can normalize the light getting into your eye as much as possible, then it's going to be optimal for your health. So, it is something I touch on. I mean, I was worried about tonight because I think this is a bit out of my pay grade, but, I don't think we're going to get into Muller glia cells and all that sort of stuff, but we can do, because I can do that sort of bit. And talking about light that actually is spontaneously produced inside your body. This is one of the things that's sort of quite controversial, but it doesn't make any sense to me. Going back to common sense, the most common form of communication on this planet is bioluminescence. So that's how the majority of animals communicate, actually. When you look at it as like just raw numbers, more happens that way than any other way. So why would the human body? I mean, you can see like squids and stuff like that that've got the transparent shells. You can see light. You can see them producing color. You can see that happen.
Haven't the Russians detected that human beings do give off light? That we do emit light? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when they study the eye. And it was a sort of serendipitous discovery. As all great scientists admit, normally it's an accident or someone didn't switch a machine off or something. They were studying some of the tissue in the eye, and they left the machine running, recording for about 10 minutes when it shouldn't have been. And there was spontaneous fluorescence coming from different cells. And they couldn't explain it. So this is... I'm not saying that's proof, but I think that's pretty solid proof, isn't it? That the body can, or cells can, produce light. And I think, like, I wasn't going to mention it, but the Muller glia cells, glia is just Latin for glue. They used to think these were just structures for nerves, but now they're finding that particular glia cell is like a fiber optic cable, and actually brings light into the back of the eye. So where there was supposed to be a blind spot, there isn't. So I think, it's pretty fascinating. And then, there's lots of people that will talk about red light therapy. There are studies with red light therapy slowing down myopia as well. So getting light into your eyes, and again, not staring at the sun. People think it's, oh, got to look at the bright sun, and that's not good for you. It's just being out there and not exposing yourself to the non-native light. That's key as well. Now we're all looking at screens now, so we live in the real world. It's not a case of, not doing this. It's a case of trying to make the best of it and mitigate the problems as much as you can.
Yeah, interesting. My anecdote's been pretty similar to Phil's, really. It seems that if I can keep it part of my schedule, keep it part of my daily routine, make it habitual, that's when I start to mount up the benefits. The reason being is I quickly notice within about a day or two if I neglect my sleep. If I wake up in the night, check my phone because I've got a load of emails, doing silly stuff like that. And that's with all the other biohacks intended as well. So that might include having a blue blocking filter app on my phone, which is turned on automatically at night around about 7 or 8 p.m. Depends what time it is actually light or dark outside at the time. Other things that I use, blue blocking glasses. At this sort of time of year, not really, because I do tend to go to sleep. I'm not trying to stare at any screens past the point where the sun's actually beginning to go down at all. I don't use any lighting in my bedroom apart from studio lighting to light up my face if I'm recording a bit later at night. That's about it. I try to just limit my exposure. My phone's usually on dim. It's usually on a red mode, which is sometimes a bit hard to read in the summer's time. But yeah, I mean, it does work, and you just get used to it. It's just one of these things you have to keep on top of. In terms of like my bodybuilding experience, which some people might be interested to hear, anyone that's a performance athlete, anyone that's got an intensive job, something which requires a lot of physical effort or mental effort might actually find this interesting. I probably noticed a 15 to 20% improvement in my subjective life experience by staying on top of this biohack. So that means, blue blocking glasses, curtains closed, curtains open when it's light, not staring at the screen, things like that. So that just means my performance is a bit better in the gym, my sleep's a bit better. So it's all intertwined, it's all interlinked as well. My digestion is also a lot better. I do also use a red light therapy panel. I use that on my lower back, my spine, my hip, my abdomen, sometimes my face throughout the day. And I do use it for quite a long period of time, sometimes maybe half an hour each mini session. I do have it as close to my body as I can probably possibly get it. And yeah, I mean, I'd say it heats up the body from the inside, if anything, even if it was anecdotal. But I do notice if I've got any gastric distress, digestive issues, it does seem to clear it up a little bit faster than not using it. So it's quite pertinent for me to keep on top of this. I'm very light sensitive, so that's been my little experience there.
Have you noticed the difference in recovery, Jonathan, as well?
Sure, yeah. I mean, in terms of muscular recovery, I couldn't really say any real difference, but I will say joint recovery has been quite noticeable. For example, if my knees feel like glass right now, my ankles feel like glass just from stepping around a lot and being quite lean, not having much estrogen in my body to like repair joint tissues and collagenous tissues. I would say, yeah, for sure, it's definitely improved my recovery in that sense. And ultimately, it means I can train in the gym without feeling like absolute glass. I mean, I do still feel like glass, but it's not quite as bad as what it would be years prior. So I wish people got back into this sooner. So I'm sort of here at my gym sort of saying to people, look, get on this. You're missing out on something here. You're worrying about, what peanut butter spread to use, whether you use one with sugar in it or not. Bigger picture, guys, the light's going to make a bigger difference than one ingredient, one different food, one meal that you're having. But I do think it's a symbiotic benefit to be had with the carnivore diet. The deuterium depletion side of it. Eating seasonally, of course, helps. Eating seasonally right now, for me, regardless if it's winter or summertime, any seasonal foods that will be grown around me right now, I'm intolerant to anyway. And that was before I started the carnivore diet. So the idea that I would somehow benefit in the summer months from having a few berries, which is pretty much the only food that exists around me right now within about a 10-mile radius at all, that is vegetation. No, I'm intolerant to them. They don't feel good. I don't enjoy them. They don't enjoy being in my body either. So I get a lot of digestive distress from having those. But yeah, I'd say there's definitely a multifactorial benefit from it. The only problem I have with what Dr. Jack Cruz says is, eat seasonally based on your latitude. Well, okay. Well, if we know the perfect human diet, strictly speaking, we're sort of talking about, a ketogenic sort of carnivorous diet, low toxicity, low anti-nutrient, high nutrient density. What does fruit possibly give you that animal foods doesn't? And I see every single interview, they don't ask that question. It's a pertinent, important question. What would I get in the summer months from adding in some honey if I lived in, I don't know, middle of Africa somewhere, or some berries or some fruit? None. There's no benefit to be had. There's none. I don't see the point. So that's where my issue stands. Just because you can tolerate something doesn't mean you should have something.
Yeah, Jonathan, I totally agree with you. I think it's for the benefit of the plants, because you eat the berries, you go poo the seeds out, the plant grows. I think his point is that, if you're in balance, those things will do you no harm if they're in season, because nature knows how to take care of that. That's all. But if anybody's really sick, I'd say just don't bother with them for a year or two. Miss a couple of seasons and then see what it feels like afterwards. But yeah, I agree. They're a waste of time. They're not as toxic as seed oils or spinach or something like that. But yeah, don't need them.
I think ancestrally, particularly during an ice age, and if you're outside of the tropics, that coming across a bush laden with soft fruits, you would have absolutely filled your face. That would have given you a big insulin spike and helped you to maybe store some fat to help you get through the winter. Same maybe with some fats from fungi and carbs from fungi and nuts and stuff like that as well. It's might be a survival benefit, with some prompting some insulin resistance in that period. But yeah, I agree. unless you're wanting to put on fat for the winter, Jonathan, it's probably best to be avoided. Your fruits.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm thinking myself, the only reason that I would personally add in a substantial amount or more carbohydrates than what I have right now is if I was trying to gain a bit of weight for the sake of gaining weight. That's literally it. Just to gain weight as quickly as possible. Yeah, you're going to gain more weight faster eating a mixed macronutrient diet. I've tested this myself. Calories equated, carbs and sugar and fat together is more fattening if you look at the calories being equated than just fat alone. And I've done this and I've proven it so many times myself and with my clients. So it doesn't map out that way, guys. I'd say it reduces the calorie intake you can take in by about 20% from what I found. So
the other thing, of course, as well, is that if you've not had a successful hunt for a while and you come across a bee's nest, and you'll go, sod it, I'm going in, because I know there's 30,000, 50,000 calories worth of honey in there and wax. So that would be worth it. You might be able then to top up your glycogen supplies if you were depleted, which might give you enough energy to hunt. You never know. But that's quite an extreme edge case. That doesn't mean that you should then go out and say, oh, Paul Saladino says it's all right to eat honey every single day of the year, which is not, because it's laden with fructose. This is the point. There are things that in the context of the solar year would make sense if it helps you to put weight on for the winter. It's a survival trait. But that doesn't mean that you should go out and fill your face with sucrose and high fructose corn syrup every day of the year. It's completely inappropriate.
Absolutely.
Should we get stuck into some of these questions?
We'll get some questions done. Definitely get some questions done now, because we've got a lot piling up and people have joined for the questions to be answered. So we'll go to Jay first. How long before sleep should you wear blue light blockers? I kind of alluded to this earlier, but what do you guys think? Would you do it certain time, or would you do it when it's relative to the light outside?
Yeah, it's not relative to sleep. It's relative to when the sun goes down. Yeah. I'd say when the sun goes down, stick your blue blockers on. Yeah, because then ancestrally, all we'd have had would be some starlight, maybe some moonlight, and the light of a campfire.
Yes, if you're in the presence of non-native light. I mean, if you're inside, not on a screen, then put your blue blockers on once the sun's gone down.
Yeah,
absolutely. We're all in agreement there. That's easy. So if the sun's gone down outside, guys, chuck your blue blocking glasses on. Ideally, don't stare at any screens at all. Save yourself the effort. That's probably the best little trick you can do. Tom's got a question here. As a software developer, how do I deal with the blue light exposure? And please don't say change profession. We've alluded to this a lot of times. Software and computer, and a red light filter of your computer as well. That limits a lot of the blue light exposure. You can probably reduce it by about a quarter at least, at the very least, while still having perfectly good vision with what you're doing on a computer. I do most of my work, my editing on my computer, checking with clients, consultations with a blue light filter on my computer. It doesn't seem to cause me any issues. What would you guys say towards that sort of question?
Yeah, get Iris Tech on there. And if you're stuck on a screen all day, even if you've got Iris Tech on there, go outside every now and again. If I think about it, or if I sort of get a bit fed up with what I'm doing on the computer or whatever, if I'm practicing the drums even and get to like 20 minutes and your brain goes a bit, just go outside, get grounded, get some natural light in, come back in again. You're dissipating some of those EMFs, getting rid of the the blue light onslaught as well for a bit. But definitely get Iris, because it deals with the flicker as well. We haven't talked about that, but it's not just the blue light from a screen, it's also the flicker. And somebody put somewhere else, I turn it down dim. Apparently, when you do that, the flicker's even worse. So, get Iris on the computers if you're stuck in front of them all day. Oh, and change profession. Oh, I'm only messing, just because you said it.
Okay, next question from Mojo Curia. On a budget, so would ever-ready red light bulbs and maximum red color settings on a computer be sufficient for protecting circadian health? What do you think?
What's ever-ready red light bulbs? Does
I
anybody
don't know. I've not heard of them personally. I'd have to look it up.
I'm not sure, but the maximum red color settings on a computer would be kind of good. But you know, on a budget, Iris is only like $10 for like lifetime, and then if you introduce somebody, you get half of that back. So tell a couple of people about it, and you've got your $10 back anyway. So it's not expensive, and having red bulbs is great at night. I mean, Jack is so strict these days. He's saying everything has to be pitch black. Even a little bit of red goes a long way to hurting you. And the first mistake we made was discovering fire. So I think we're a bit past that. You know, even a campfire was messing us about. And in a sense, I guess it was, because it does mess about the sort of light that we'd naturally get from the sun and the moon. But no, you know, if you're getting red light bulbs and having, you know, some dim red light, that's what we have. You know, I keep saying we got a couple of snake cages and we just have dim red LEDs in there at night in the living room. And somebody asked about the screen over the TV that we have. It's just like an orange screen that takes most of the blue out. Even if we watch it in the middle of the day, I've still got the screen on. Other people's TVs, I just can't look at them. It's weird to even look at them. It's painful. So we have that sort of just an orange load of plastic, you know, like over the front of the screen. And yeah, and it's not watched much in the evening, and the red lights are on in the snake cages, and then turn the lights off and go to bed and keep the bedroom as dark as possible. I even, you know, even little bits of light coming in around the edge, you know, Ben and I had this this conference at Cliff College in January and Easter, 2 of them. And Sarah Pugh was there, and you know, she was wrestling a wardrobe in front of the door to keep even little bits of light out. And I think that's cool, you know, if you can get your bedroom as dark as possible. But even recently, I've started wearing a sleep mask, one of the Bond Charge sleep masks, even, you know, when it's dark. It does seem to deepen sleep a bit more. You know, the darker it is, the better. So yeah, you know, whatever you can do is good, as long as you just turn everything off at night when the sun's gone down, and just have a little bit of red light, and don't check your phones on maximum blue, and don't stare at the screen, and you'll be going a whole load of away there. And it doesn't cost much. You can do it all on a budget. It's easy.
Nice one. Next question is from Matthew. Are red blue light blocking glasses more effective than amber or orange blue light blocking glasses? I mean, it's just the nanometer wavelength frequency that it alters in terms of how much you receive through the eyeball. That's basically it. So in theory, yes, a red glasses would block about 450 nanometers or so. Then, of course, like the orange ones, the light orange hue, maybe a bit less, maybe 350. I couldn't say the exact numbers, but yeah, it does seem to be somewhere around the 450 nanometer wavelength seems to be the right amount. So I'd look at that. If you can find it online and it says that number on it, go for it. It's a good product, in my opinion. And that's the same one that I use, and they've got a slight orange-red hue.
Yeah, I mean, and some people just think that the red are daytime glasses and the orange are, the red are nighttime glasses and the orange are daytime glasses, which does sort of work actually. So I've got these, which I, when I'm on the computer, I would use those, which are orange.
Yeah, but if that Stephen's absolutely right. In the daytime, you can have some lighter ones, some orange ones, and the more sort of red ones at night. But it's real simple. People go, "Oh, does this one work? Does that one work?" It's ever so easy. You just get some blue LED or something. There's a few around here, you know, that companies put in little light switches and this and that, or in an amp that I've got down here for the drums. It's a blue LED. If you put your glasses on and you can still see blue, they're not working. It's that simple.
I had this. Sally got me this sign that says live on air right behind my thing. I walked in my office one day with my blue blockers on and went, shit, the top bit's broken because it was emitting no light at all. It just said on air because that's in pink, and the blue thing I couldn't see it at all. So that's how I knew they worked. Took the glasses off. I said, oh, it's all right.
Yeah, exactly. It's that simple, isn't it? It's that simple. Call up some blue thing, get some color spectrum or whatever up on the computer, sort of Google something, and if you put the glasses on, you can still see the blue. Then they're not working for the evening.
I also feel that it's like, oh, my eyes go as well.
Yeah,
and I tell you what, because I do graphic design from time to time as well. If I switch iris off to check, because my computer is kind of urine stained kind of color. It's quite amber, and I have accepted that like during the day. It's not Lucozade. It's not like looking through a Lucozade bottle, but it's getting there. But sometimes I will temporarily switch iris off so I can check the colors on something before it goes out. And it's like I do that, and it's like really almost physically painful sometimes.
Yeah, I'm proofreading somebody's carp fishing book at the moment, which I haven't done for years. But he asked me to do it. I did his first book, and I'd forgotten the stress of staring at Word documents all day long. But with Iris, you can select Biohacker, and it turns the white backing, that you'd see normally on the page into black, and the black type into orange, and your eyes just go and you can sit there and just proofread it without any eye strain at all. Or it's even in the middle of the day, it affects you. Staring at a computer, even with Iris on what's called the health setting, I don't have it on as much of a serious setting in the day as Ben, because he put his on health and he went, oh, that's bad as well. I kind of put up with that for most things, but staring at it for hours, it's got a screen of text. It's got to be Biohacker. But I understand if people are working with images all day, it's video editing, that kind of thing. It's difficult, but just do as much as you can in the middle of the day and get outside in between, I'd say. Yeah.
And also, read that question about software development, a lot of those packages will let you set up choose a particular theme for that. So I would go for a light on dark version, kind of like the old Unix computers as well. It used to be kind of light on darkish blue. It's very pleasant on the eyes.
Yeah, my phone screen's always on that sort of mode, so it's always on the darker as the main theme color. Then it'll be like white text or whatever. So I do the same thing. It does seem to be a bit more effective.
This is what triple click goes on to red. Triple click comes back off as well. So that's when the blue blockers go on, that'd be a similar thing as well. And that's just built into iPhone. It's an accessibility hack, and you can just attach it to the triple click.
Yeah, it's a good hack, that one, isn't it? With the triple click, and then it just goes into nighttime, because that is what they think is the nighttime, which I have on all day, because I can't bear their daytime thing. But then you can just click it 3 times when you set it up, and it goes into red for the night. Cool.
We go to the next question now. I've been exposing my abdomen to the sun whenever it's out in the UK, in the hope it helps heal my digestive system and liver, gallbladder. Good idea? Yes, my short answer. Would you guys think that was a good idea?
Whole torso if you can. As much skin as you can, I think, is what Jack would say.
Simple as
that. Rob said, I turn main lights right down at night on dimmers. My lounge is like a rave, though, with all my RGB lighting on my PC. Is that bad? If it's in your lounge and not your bedroom, I don't see a problem with it, really. Just a bit distracting and a bit annoying. I just hope it isn't like bright blue or bright green, perhaps, or bright white. Ideally, it sort of comes up as red. I do actually have a keyboard mat here somewhere that can light up purely as red, but I never turn it on, I'm too lazy. Because the thing is, the plug that it attaches to has a different colour light, which is annoying as hell. So it does keep me up at night. So it's like, oh, it's a waste of time. You only have to turn it on and off. It's like another little. You buy these things thinking it's going to be helpful to you, but it doesn't help at all because you have to press more buttons, and I don't like pressing buttons all day, guys. It's not much fun. What do you guys think about the rave lighting in Rob's lounge?
Well, I'd say, turning the main lights right down at night on dimmers, it's just turning the same frequency down, and then you're getting more flicker, aren't you, as you turn the dimmers down. So I don't think that's a good idea. Just replace it with different bulbs. We don't have any main lights on. We've got just those awful LEDs like everybody else, in our main lights. We just don't turn them on. Just get some lamps around, because another thing to mention that we haven't is that when there's any sort of light that's inappropriate, it's more harmful coming from above than it is from low down. So because as the sun goes down, our body's also used to seeing it at that level. And so when it's up high, it's still telling us, if it's even kind of not quite such bad light, it's still telling us in a way that it's daytime. So turn the lights off on the ceiling. Don't use them at night, and use some lamps, or candles, or, little red LEDs, that kind of thing. Don't turn the main lights down on dimmers. That's not going to do much. It's just going to increase flicker, and it's still coming from above.
Because it's the difference in information and intensity, isn't it? The same information is still getting through.
Yeah.
Because it's about the wavelength. It's not about the actual number of photons hitting you.
Yeah. Oh, and before I forget, there was something interesting Sarah was on about last time I was talking to her at the events that we did, or maybe it was in her talk. I can't remember, but she was on about, the fact that light is also a particle as well as a wave. So in the daytime, leaving the window open, because we can't get natural light through a window. You can't kind of get a suntan through a window or whatever. So if you leave the windows open a bit, you can actually get that more natural light in than if the window was shut in front of you, even if it's open a bit. So, get those light particles in too during the day.
Great stuff. Next question is from Paul, once a week man. I heard a rumour that Phil has a special screen for blue light for his TV. What is it, and where can we get them?
I reckon if you're less lazy than me, you can get it from anywhere. You just get some kind of orange sheeting or something, some orange see-through plastic stuff. We've got some Velcro around the outside of it, and it just sticks onto the TV. It's as simple as that. Yeah, something like that. Ours isn't as dark as that, because then if you put it over the front there, you just cannot see the TV. So it's mostly for taking the light, the worst of the blue light out during the day and into a bit of the evening, in the same way as you'd wear orange shades rather than red ones. So I don't think it's particularly still good. If I wake up at night and I think I'm awake for a couple of hours, I can't sleep, I might watch a film or something. And sometimes I do, rarely, but I do. Even with that on the front of the TV, I'll wear blue blockers. But in the daytime, it's much more relaxing to look at that than it is, having just a regular TV. But I got it from a place called Low Blue Lights, one word, lowbluelights.com, I think. And they do sort of various size sort of plastic screens for TV. But I'm sure you can find it cheaper somewhere else. But lowbluelights.com, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, any old thing that takes it out, takes the edge off it.
Nice one. Thanks for your input. We just lost a question. Bear with us, guys. I'm just trying to find a question.
It's not completely on topic, but there's one about the X39 stem cell patches there.
Yes, yeah.
About
I think that's the one that's gone missing. Yeah.
That was the one. Yes, know anything about X39 stem cell patch by LifeWave, claiming to use photobiomodulation to reflect back or internally generated light to trigger stem cell production? Scam or legit?
Well, it's based on. Oh, sorry, Phil. You were going to say?
No, go ahead. I can waffle on that, but you go ahead.
Oh well, light can elevate peptides, which can be associated with stimulating stem cell production. But that's what we're talking about. That light has these wonderful things that it can do. Well, this patch, which is the posh word is non-transdermal, harnesses the heat of the body, because we know the heat and light are sort of associated, to sort of form an infrared reaction on the skin. That's the idea behind it. I don't think they can make the claims without some sort of basis that it does something. But with this, with the stem cell stuff, I think I wouldn't say it's a scam, but I would say it's got to be around a lot longer. And I would have my doubts, because I think there's other ways of promoting stem cells which are better, and getting out in the sunlight is better than wearing a patch. But maybe, Phil, do you want to have a go?
Yeah, well, somebody came along to our carnivore conference in 2019, the one in Spain, which of course everybody watching this is going to book for again at the end of 2024, which you can find at thebigfatchallenge.com. Anyway, he was there, and he was somebody who'd been selling these 39 things and all the other patches they do. And I went home with like half a suitcase full of them. He was trying to persuade me to sell them, And I thought, great, maybe it could something I could add, and it would, earn some extra money or whatever. It's done with one of those MLM schemes. I didn't notice any benefit. I was covered head to toe with them at some points. I'm really trying everything out, and I didn't notice anything, but I can't discount them. It just wasn't for me because I didn't find any benefit. But a lot of people have said they do. I would say that if you want to increase stem cell production, or release, do everything that we say, get on a carnivore diet, do a bit of fasting sometimes, get out in the sun, and maybe even try some cerule. I think the research on that is a little more sound than the research on that. So sign up to cerule under Stephen there, or under us, whichever you want. We'll have a fight about that later on. But I think that research looks better to me, which is why I've decided to have a go at that. Ben and I are doing it, and but I don't know. I can never throw anything out completely and say if it's a scam, because a load of people say they've had success, but I don't know. It wasn't for me. I didn't have enough confidence to put my name behind it anyway.
And like you say, dry fasting is also pretty proven to increase stem cell production.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know anything about this product, guys, so I couldn't give anything useful of utility. An interesting point.
Bruce. Did you see that one quickly? Sorry, with Andrew. He says, if you have sex before bed with the lights on, use blue blockers. Stay safe and protected. Very good. That's why I was in the middle of the day, so then you can still see each other and you don't harm each other.
Stay safe, guys.
That's a treat for when the kids go to school, isn't it? Sod it at night. Night's for sleeping.
It might help you work more efficiently as well. Bruce said earlier, considering the standard American diet, we've eaten enough honey for about 1,000 lifetimes a year.
Yep.
Yeah, I think like Ben said earlier, we had it opportunistically just to have. We're out all day. What do we eat? Here's something. It tastes good. We might die off a cliff trying to get it, but sod it, we like it because we're addicted as hell. When we can get it, we get it. I guess that's just the the frugal nature of human beings, I guess.
Yeah, the problem is this crap is just available 24/7. And in fact, it's available where food isn't available as well now. You stop at a petrol station on your way somewhere, you haven't even got the option. It's between 70 and 80% of all products on the grocery store shelves in the United States now have added sugar. Added. That's not including natural sugar, and that's not including starch and carbs. they put sugar in. Why do they put it in? Because it's an addictive drug. And because you will go back and buy more of something if it's got sugar in it. So it's just economics.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Cheap junk food.
Oh, I tell you one thing that we didn't mention. If you are inside on a computer, I've heard this, that sometimes I do it. If you get some kind of a light that emits a load of red, it can help to balance out the spectrum. So I quite often turn that sort of red, like this thing that I put up sometimes in the winter that I can't be asked putting up now, but just turn it on red and have it there, and it can balance out some of the spectrum. And Andrew says on a budget, use beeswax candles. It'll be better than LED lights. You're absolutely right. The only reason we don't use those anymore is that we have a cat and he'd set fire to himself. And so, I know there's going to be trouble with candles and a cat. So we just use those dim LEDs inside the snake cages. That's all. But yeah, quite right.
I got a really good tip off.
Can I just say that there's a question? Oh, okay.
So what's that, Ben?
It's a name as well. I do apologise in advance. I got a good tip off Facebook today, which is the 20-20-20 rule. So if you've been using a computer for 20 minutes, then look at something 20 feet away and then go and spend 20 years in a forest. That's the best way to look after your eyes and your health. There you go. So, apologies.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, there was a practical question I just wanted that's been missed from Oak Hearts. If you wear glasses, is there a brand that you can clip over, or is it best to get prescribed glasses with the blue blockers built in? There is a brand that does clip overs and even wear overs. So I've got a link in my YouTube for that. The Block Blue Light company do that. But I wanted to ask you guys whether you thought that the clip overs were okay. I think they are. I think they're very good. I mean, I used to wear glasses, but my eyes are great now, so it's not a problem. But I can remember when I did have glasses, getting prescription sunglasses was a pain in the butt. So, do you think the clip-ons are okay? I think they are.
I'd think so.
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with them. I mean, the ones I wear aren't glamorous, guys. They do cover all around your eyelids, so they're more effective. So if it's a bit further from your eye, maybe you get a bit of glare from the outside of your eye, but we're talking like minor things here, because your brain does make up what you see at that peripheral vision point anyway. You only see about, what is it, like 10% of what is actually in your line of sight anyway. So I think it's a better idea than not. I think if it allows you to see, I don't have a problem with it. All right, we'll go to we have to get through maybe one or two more questions, guys. So Scooby the dog, do you guys think Iris is pretty effective for the computer? I keep my screen very red, especially later. Hopefully it helps some. I use at night. I wear blue blockers also, try to avoid. As we said earlier, yeah, we think it's good. Nothing more to add, really. Unless you guys
got anything. As well, that you can set it to a daytime setting like amber, and then it goes redder when the sun goes down as well, which is good.
Nice one. A question from Paul: should we sleep more in the winter and less in the summer? Again, it's about the timing versus the light. It's not the timing that matters, guys. It's the light. The light is giving you the signal. It's not about the time of the year. If you have, for example, if you're in the middle of winter and for some reason you have some catastrophic event and it's sunlight for 20 hours in the day, fine. You stay awake for more hours. It's not about the seasonality. It's about the actual light that it does happen to come out. And yeah, generally speaking, a winter's going to be a cold, dark night, so you're probably going to spend more time in bed. I notice that myself, I sleep a bit longer in the winter sort of time. My body's probably dealing with a bit more stress, a bit more cold exposure. Who knows? Mitochondria might have to heal more. Who knows? Could be all sorts of different things, but I'd say it's probably safer bet to sort of sleep a bit more in the winter. What about you guys? Do you notice any different trends in what you do, like between seasons?
Yeah, I sleep less in the summer.
Yeah,
Or
makes
strange
perfect
enough, I sleep more in the winter.
Yeah, it makes sense ancestrally that we would have done that. The summer is more stressful. You're out, you're doing more hunting, you're doing more gathering. In the winter, you'd probably get up, you'd fix some tools, you'd sew some boots or something like that, and you'd go off and pee away some toxins that you'd taken into your body in the summer. I also believe, and there's no way of proving this, but I also believe that women would probably have gestated during the winter time as well, and probably given birth in the spring, as a lot of animals do. But can't prove it.
Definitely.
It sounds quite possible. I mean, the chance are your testosterone is going to be a bit higher in the summer months anyway. So by the time the spring comes around, you're more virile, I'd imagine. You've got maybe more source of food to eat. You're in a different kind of bodily state, more nutrition coming in, more food, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it all links back down to ancestral stuff, I think. It's just hard to imagine, what do we do so many thousand or 100,000 years ago? You know, we can look at this data and sort of, you know, look at it and kind of like piece it together. It's hard work though, guys. I don't know, but I think I always trust Ben's opinion on this because he does read up on this stuff. He's quite into the anthropological, historical, ancestral side of things, and so is Phil and the other guys. So we've got one last question, guys. I'm going to give this one to Stephen because I think he did allude to this one question earlier about macular degeneration and the red light therapy protocol.
Yeah, I mean, I have to be careful here because the FDA don't approve it, all right, but they do in Europe and Latin America. You get a desktop red light, and it literally is 3 minutes twice a day, and that's it. And that's what then they found results from that where they've reduced macular degeneration. If you're in the States, you're watching it. There is a FDA trial going on right now. Lumathora, I think, is the company behind it. I might have said that all wrong. I might have destroyed the name, but yeah. So the reason I mentioned it was just to give this apparent woo-woo topic some credibility for people that are skeptical. It's being studied, and you wait. If the FDA approve it in America, this won't be woo-woo anymore. It'll be everywhere because they got something to sell and make money out of. But yeah, and basically what it does, like I say, the drusen, the protein that is at the back of the eye, the red light therapy has reduced it. So that's how it gets approved. But I would say, you know, don't just stare at red lights. That's not what I'm saying. You need a device that's designed to do what we've just talked about.
This kind of ties in a way with this comment here from Scooby the Dog, who says cerule is hogwash. Same old plant-based powder extracts. Does anyone read the ingredients? Well, it's not actually plant-based powder extracts, isn't it? It's a cyanobacter, so it's really sort of somewhere in between plants and animals, I guess. But no, it's not the same old plant-based powder extracts. Although I think they're such a cool company, because a friend of ours started moaning that they had certain additives, like a little bit of rice here and there, and some of the artificial sweeteners in one of their awful drinks, which I think are revolting. It's blue drinks that they do. I think the stem cell one is pretty good, but I don't think it's hogwash, and it's not plant extracts. But they're even thinking of doing, just because we mentioned it, a whole sort of carnivore range of them without any fillers whatsoever, which I thought was great for a company, because they'd usually just say, piss off, you know, we're not interested. So they really listen. But no, I don't think it's hogwash. You know, I hate to sound like a vegan and say that there are studies, but these studies are not connected to any kind of, and they're not connected to cerule, and they're not connected to any sort of big pharma or big food where you get the really crappy studies. But, you know, those type of algae have been shown to increase stem cell release. There's no doubt about that. And with this comment that we got up here, or this question about the macular degeneration, you know, I mean, it's anecdotal, but Bart, he was told that he was going to have macular degeneration that was so severe he was going to be blind in about 10 years. And, that, you know, that seemed to clear up with the cerule even before he went carnivore. So, and I've noticed some benefits, the sort of things that you would put down to increase stem cell release. So, you know, I mean, how many supplements do I recommend or anything, or have any financial interest in? One. And it's taken me about 9 years to take one on board. You know, I don't trust any of them. But I think to say Cyril is hogwash is a bit you know, it's a bit unkind. It's not plant-based powder extract. So check it out. If it works for you, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But yeah, Ribeye Rob says stem enhance works. They saw the stem cells rush to the affected sites in tests with glowing jellyfish splicing. Oh, really? That's interesting. Well, it certainly, you know, within a couple of months, it rushed to my knee. So, and that's got a load of fibrosis in it from years of inflammation. It gave me some more range of movement. But so, yeah, but I think there's a load of things you can do without having to buy Cyril, right? You can do some dry fasting. You can do all of this stuff and it's going to be fine. So we're certainly not hammering that, but I don't think it's hogwash. Anyway, there we go.
On that bombshell. We'll see you next one.
We'll see you next week, guys, for a top secret topic. And it'll be a very important one, as I'm sure you guys will find out. Just so anyone is aware that is listening to this right now, just before I wrap this up, myself and a few of the other panel members will be guests at the Public Health Collaboration UK in Croydon, I think, this weekend. So check us out there. Feel free to approach any one of us. I won't be too friendly. I'll be pretty tired and knackered, but still say hi anyway. I'll make my best effort. But I can't promise I'm going to be absolutely a bundle of fun. But yeah, just tap me on the shoulder, say hi. Be nice to meet any of you that are in attendance at that time. I believe Ben, Stephen, and Richard will be there as well. So yeah, check it out. Anyway, thank you very much for joining, guys. Please check out my site, compositionconsult.com, and my YouTube channel name is @CarnivoreMuscle. Also find Ben Hunt and Phil Escott at the Big Fat Challenge. Subscribe to Phil Escott if you have not yet on YouTube already, and also find Coach Stephen at the UK Carnivore.com. Thank you very much for joining, guys. Cheers.